Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Unfortunate day here because now, in the last few days, Tampa's 2-0. Cody Mauch, starting right guard, he's done for the season. Calijah Cancey on the defense, done for the season. Absolutely catastrophic. Hate it so much for Calijah Cancey, but also Cody Mauch. Baker already come out here and saying, doesn't matter what happens, we're still going to do our thing. And it's not the end of the world, I will say, for Tampa, because here's the thing. So they picked up Dan Feeney, who can play guard, he can play center. They picked him up from the Buffalo Bills practice squad. They also brought up Elijah Clean from the practice squad. They brought in Luke Haggard from the practice squad. Michael Jordan last week at left guard, I thought played really good. I think he was actually the highest graded pass protector for Tampa's offense. I wouldn't be surprised if he got the nod. But here's the thing. Luke Gadecki at right tackle, he's on the IR. He's set to miss a couple of weeks. So a lot of this comes down to Tristan Wirfs. Is he healthy yet or is he not? Because if he's going to be healthy for the home opener on Sunday against the New York Jets, well, you're able to do this. You can have Tristan Wirfs go at left tackle. You can move Graham Barton back to center. So then you could move Ben Bredesen back to left guard. Right tackle would be Charlie Heck. And then right guard, in my opinion, should be and would be Michael Jordan. But maybe it would be Dan Feeney brought in from the Bills practice squad. Maybe it would be Luke Haggard. Maybe it would be Elijah Clean. It's not the end of the world. But currently, Tristan Wirfs is injured, right? So he's not playing. He hasn't played yet. So if we're under the assumption Wirfs isn't ready to go, well, then you're going to have to bring Graham Barton back to left tackle, or he's going to have to stay at left tackle. Bredesen's going to stay at center. Left guard should still be Michael Jordan, in my opinion. And then the right guard would have to be Luke Haggard, Clean, or Dan Feeney. Now, if that happens and it's worse comes to worse, hopefully that's just for one more week because hopefully Tristan Wirfs can come back for week 4. But if they have to deploy this for more than 2 or so games, getting week 4 and beyond, that's when things get a little bit dicey. But at the end of the day, injuries do happen and injuries are expected. And we're still early on in the season where if it's really that catastrophically bad, the injuries aren't looking good, whatever the situation is, it's not too late for Tampa to go out there and make a trade. Now, defensively, it's nothing necessarily new of Calijah Cancey being injured, which sucks, but he's done for the whole season, and we're only 2 games in. So here's the thing. They bring in Elijah Simmons, undrafted, free agent from this past season. He was on the Arizona Cardinals practice squad. He played college ball at Tennessee. He's been in like 55 games. I think he only started 8 of those. The good news for Tampa's defense is I think they're very young, underrated, and the depth is kind of intriguing to me, but maybe it's more of like a homer, live here in the Bay, like maybe it's a homer take. But I think Elijah Roberts might be ready. Elijah Roberts, the rookie, he had a half sack. We've barely seen snaps, like somewhere around 10 in the first 2 weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if Elijah Roberts, well, first off, somebody does have to step up, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's Elijah Roberts. Greg Gaines, probably going to be the starter. Logan Hall also. Logan Hall's another one of these intriguing youngsters on the defense where you want to start seeing some consistent, reliable results. But at the same time, when you watch the tape and you watch him play, he looks pretty good. So the defensive line, Logan Hall, Vita Vea, Greg Gaines, Hassan Reddick, it's super unfortunate. But like I said, Calijah, let me even just fact check this while we're recording it. Calijah Cancey's only 24 years old. Played in 12 games last season, 14 the year before. This is not good. This is like worst case doomsday scenario, and unfortunately it did end up happening. But like we mentioned, man, injuries happen and they do suck. So 2 games into the season, Tampa's 2-0. Vibes should be riding high, but unfortunately, those two injuries really just kind of take a toll there. Now, here's the thing: the Jets are the home opener. After that, gets a little bit dicey just for a little bit. Philadelphia, Seattle, a couple of really good defenses right there in Philly and Seattle. So a win against New York with a makeshift offensive line. Hopefully, Tampa is able to get off to a 3-0 start. And hopefully, in week 4 for Philly, Tristan Wirfs is ready to go. And these kind of guard spots, depending on injuries, are all squared away. Like I said, I think Michael Jordan had a really good football game on Monday night against Houston. He was the highest graded, or tied for the highest graded offensive pass protection guy. So he was, this sounds so confusing. I think it was like Payne Durham. Maybe it was Keefe, but like Payne Durham was technically number 1, tied for number 1. It's just getting so confusing right now. Payne Durham and Michael Jordan were like tied for first, but Payne only had like 8 or so snaps or whatever. So on the offensive line, Michael Jordan was the highest graded pass blocker. Now this is per PFF, and like, for example, they had Graham Barton at like a 26 pass blocking, but he was the best run blocker, which Graham Barton is playing hard, but there were definitely some snaps in week 1 and especially in week 2 where it's like Graham Barton against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. There's really only so much you can do. So hopefully the injury bugs clear away. As far as the defense goes in general, you only gave up 20 to the Houston Texans. I think this defensive back room is turning into a real strength for Tampa's team. You got Zion McCollum, who was an underrated gem heading into this season. They just extended him. He is a under-the-radar gem. Tyke Smith he's had a phenomenal first 2 games this season for Tampa Bay. Antoine Winfield Jr. is healthy. Jacob Parrish, the rookie, we did a film study on him a couple of weeks ago. He is a gamer, and he is he's more than ready, and he has been making plays already. So, folks, we're probably going to call it here. Just to kind of summarize it, it sucks so much. The offensive line, Cody Mauch, and he played through the whole game with his injury. That one hurts a lot, but Calijah hurts even bigger. That is just a player you do not want that to happen to. He was on his way, in my opinion, to becoming a top 10 player at his position by the end of the year. I think that would have been apparent, as long as he can stay healthy. And unfortunately, he is done for the whole season. So it sucks, but it's a resilient team. Injuries happen all the time, and hopefully they can bounce back even more strong somehow. So thank you for watching. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for pretty daily-ish Buccaneers content. Let me know your thoughts on these 2 injuries, and we'll see you soon.